Hello, children. Today I'm going to take the poem When I Set Out for Lyonesse. This is a poem written by Thomas Hardy. So, as usual, before we know the poem, let's have a sneak peek into the life of the poet. Thomas Hardy was a British poet and was the son of a stone mason. Hardy was born in Dorset, England on June 2nd, 1840. He was trained as an architect and worked in London and Dorset for 10 years. Hardy began his writing career as a novelist, publishing Desperate Remedies in 1871, and was soon successful enough to leave the field of architecture for writing. His novels Tess of the d'Urbervilles and Jude the Obscure are considered literary classics today. Hardy left fiction writing for poetry and published 8 collections including Poems of the Past and the Present and Satires of Circumstance. Hardy's poetry explores a fatalist outlook against the dark, rugged landscape of his native Dorset. Now let's get into the poem. The poem When I Set Out for Lyonesse is about the poet's journey to an imaginary country by the name of Lyonesse and his transformation after returning back. In order to understand the poem, we must first understand its background. It is believed that Lyonesse was a country that, according to Arthurian legend, was near Cornwall, a country near England, before it sank beneath the sea. Hence, the poet imagines going to that city. The poet, who was an architect, was given the job to supervise the construction of a church in Cornwall. The poem is divided into 3 stanzas and we will discuss them line by line and also understand the meanings of difficult words. Each stanza consists of 6 lines. Let me read out the first stanza. When I set out for Lyonesse, 100 miles away, the rime was on the spray and starlight lit my lonesomeness. When I set out for Lyonesse, 100 miles away. In the first stanza, when the poet says that when he set out for Lyonesse, a place which was 100 miles away from his native place, there was rime on the spray. Now rime means frost, small ice crystals, and it shows it was the winter season and the leaves and branches were all covered with ice crystals. The line tells us that it was chilling cold everywhere. In poetry, winter symbolizes doom or sorrow or darkness. Hence, the poet seems to be hopeless. He is not happy because this place called Lyonesse was an entirely new place, a strange place for him. So, he did not feel much of a happiness to visit a place about which he knows nothing. In the 4th line of the first stanza, the poet says that as he was traveling all alone, his only companion, friend who was walking along with him was the starlight. So the light of the star lit his path and he could feel that starlight was his only companion as he was walking towards this unknown place called Lyonesse. Let's move on to our next stanza. What should be chance at Lyonesse while I should sojourn there? No prophet does declare, nor did the wisest wizard guess. What would be chance at Lyonesse while I should sojourn there? In the second stanza, the poet wonders what would be chance. The chance means happen. What would happen to him at Lyonesse, at this new place called Lyonesse, when he will sojourn there? Sojourn means staying for the time being, staying temporarily is known as sojourn. So, in the second stanza, the poet is wondering and asking himself what is going to happen to him at Lyonesse when he will stay there temporarily. The line depicts that the poet is quite curious and excited about the visit to this new place. He feels that neither a prophet nor the wisest witch can guess how his stay in Lyonesse is going to be. Now, prophet is a person who can say what is going to happen, who can predict the future. So, literally, prophet means the person who can predict what is going to happen. But in this particular stanza, prophet means priest. So he says, neither a priest can tell nor the wisest witch or wizard. Now, wizard are also people who tell the future, who can read the future and tell. So these are wizards and witches are people who practice magic, and through magic they are able to say what is going to happen in the future. So the poet in the second line feels that neither a prophet, nor that is neither a priest nor a person who practices black magic can tell or guess what is going to happen while he is staying at Lyonesse. So all his concern is about what is going to happen to him when he is staying and supervising the work of a church. Now we come to the final stanza. When I return from Lyonesse with magic in my eyes, all marked with mute surmise, my radiance rare and fathomless. When I return from Lyonesse with magic in my eyes. From the third stanza, we can conclude that the poet has returned and he is writing down the observations of people about him. He does not tell what exactly happened to him, whether his work got completed, whether he got appreciation for his work. He does not say anything about that. However, he tells us that when he returned back from Lyonesse, all the people, when he came home, found that there was something magic in his eyes. That is, his eyes were shining. How can a pair of eyes shine? A pair of eyes shine brightly only when somebody has accomplished something great. So it shows indirectly that the poet had successfully completed his work, and that's why his eyes were shining. People found the glow and shine in his eyes as rare and fathomless. Rare means something which cannot be found easily, and fathomless means something which is very deep, profound, that which cannot be measured. Thus, the poet seems to have achieved something which he was sent for. His hope is fulfilled. Children, this is the conclusion. But when you read the poem, there is a small intro which is given above the stanzas of the poem, which tells us that when the poet returned from Lyonesse, there were two things which the people had observed. One was a magic, that is the glow in his eyes, and second, a crumbled sheet of paper which was half visible from his coat pocket. It is said that that crumpled sheet of paper had the lines of this poem. Children, with that, I conclude this poem. I hope you've liked it.